Good morning, attorney. Good morning, classmates. So, today we will be discussing our illustrative problem for revenue receipt cycle, and we will also be showing you how to perform it using our chosen AAS software, which is Sage 50 Cloud Accounting. But first, I will introduce our group members and their corresponding topics. First is yours truly, Genefa Sams Bilbao, for the introduction and chart of accounts. Next is Ms. Glemhar Rodriguez for journalizing transactions 1 and 3, followed by Ms. Laika Aniban for transactions 3 and 5, and then Ms. Jera Laguda for transactions 10 and 7. Next is for the 21st transaction, we have Ms. Jenica Nepomuceno, and followed by Ms. Dimitilio for transactions 23 and 24. And then we have Ms. Tricia Valencia for transactions 27 and 31. And for our financial statements, we have Ms. Jeremiah Gallego. Lastly, Ms. Aubrey Trico for our comparative problem. Sage 50 Cloud Accounting is a coherent, flexible, and fast accounting software that offers core accounting, project accounting, expense management, and compliance management. With this software, you will be able to simplify your finances and have more control over it. So our group chose this particular software since with inventory and reporting capabilities, Sage 50 Accounting delivers an intuitive dashboard and provides you with essential tools to help you make confident decisions. Also, this program saves us a lot of time because it is easy to use and is somehow similar to QuickBooks. So, for our sample problem, our group chose to have an accounting firm or services as our business model. So, our sample problem is Luca Pacholai, a certified public accountant, began a public accounting practice by opening Pacholai Accounting Firm on January 1, 2021. Upon opening the Sage's website, click on Launch Test Drive and then wait for it to load. It will check your system, connection, and the compatibility before proceeding. Once it's done, click on Continue. The default screen will then look like this. And to import your data, click on File and then New Company, or you can simply press Control key plus N. Again, wait for it to load patiently. A pop-up screen will then appear wherein you can place all your company's information. As you can see, we just filled in the required information since it is the only information stated in our illustrative problem. After filling up, click on Next, select a method that suits best for your company. After selecting, click on Next again, and then select your business model. In our case, it is a service company, so you can see the chart of accounts in the right side. Click on Next once again and then choose an accounting method. We chose accrual for this one. Then select a posting method. As you can see, we chose real time. After clicking on Next, you will be required to choose an accounting period. After it, you will be required to choose the first period of your fiscal year. After setting up your company, you are now ready and your data files will then be created. This may take some time, so wait for it to load patiently. After all the data have been loaded, a setup guide will appear. To continue, just click on the name of the selection you wish to set up. We click the chart of accounts since we needed to set it up first. Click on Next and the available charts will appear. You can add or remove account titles based on what you needed. To rename the account title, click it, then click View an Account, You can change it in its title. You can change its title on the description field. To save the changes, click on Save icon in the upper part, and to go back to the list, click the close icon on the upper left. You can also change the account type by clicking the arrow, and all the types will be available for you to choose from. So as you can see in here, we change the description to prepaid rent and the account type to current asset. Just repeat the process on all the accounts you want to alter. Here we change the account title to office supply and the account type to other current assets. You can also retain the existing accounts if you wish to use them. After customizing your chart of account, click on Next, and it'll ask you if your accounts have balances. We just click No since we haven't journalized yet. Again, click on Next and choose what you prefer to proceed on next. In here, we skipped the user security setup since it is not that necessary. After clicking on X, it will display the available steps for you to take on. From there, you can choose whether you want to journalize or do other things.
Good morning, attorney. Good morning, classmates. This is Glemma Rodriguez. So, since we were done setting up our new company and our chart of accounts, we can now record transactions for Pacioli Accounting Firm. Our first transaction is January 1, 2021. Luca Pacioli invested 150,000 cash and office equipment with a fair value of 230,000 pesos. Analysis of this transaction would be assets increased, owner's equity increased. Applying the rules, increases in assets are recorded by debits, and increases in owner's equity are recorded by credits. Increases in assets is recorded by a debit to cash 150,000 and a debit to office equipment 230,000. Increase in owner's equity is recorded by a credit to El Pacioli Capital 380,000. Manual systems rely on human processing, so they are labor intensive and may be inefficient in today's complex business environment. Because manual systems rely on human processing, they may be prone to error. To overcome these deficiencies, many companies use accounting information system. So let's use Sage to record the first transaction. Click Lists. Click General Journal Entries. Right-click and choose Add New General Journal Entry. Input the date, which is January 1, 2021. On the first row of the General Ledger Account column or the GL column, click on Search icon. So this will show you the chart of accounts or the list of accounts. Choose Cash. On the description, you can put the type of transaction, which is the source of assets, particularly initial investment. So an asset account increase and a corresponding claims account, which is the equity in this case, increases. Now input the amount on the debit side, 150,000. Then on the next row, click again the search icon and choose office equipment, debit 230,000. On the third row, click the search icon again and choose El Pacioli Capital. Input the amount on the credit side, 380,000. If you look at the total, the debit side equals the credit side. Both amounted to 380,000. If you mistakenly input 390,000 instead of 380,000, then it will show an out of balance amount of 10,000. Okay, so since it's balanced, you can now click save, then close the window. To check the record of your transaction, you can go to Reports and Forms, click General Ledger, choose General Ledger Trial Balance. So there you have it. Here's our General Ledger Trial Balance. So Pascioli Accounting Firm General Ledger Trial Balance as of January 31, 2021. It displays the account ID, the account description, debit amount, credit amount. Okay, so 150,000 for cash, 230,000 for office equipment, and on the credit side, El Pascioli Capital 380,000. Both sides equals to 380,000. Okay, so now let's go to the second transaction. January 3, 2021, paid 30,000 of 5 months of rent in advance for the office space to Miss Quinto. Okay, analysis. Assets increased, assets decreased. So this type of transaction is exchange of assets, particularly rent paid in advance. One asset account increases and the other asset account decreases. So following the rules, increases in assets are recorded by debits, decreases in assets are recorded by credits. For the entry, increases in assets are recorded by a debit to prepaid rent, and decreases in assets is recorded by a credit to cash amounting to 30,000. Using Sage, click Lists, General Journal Entry, add New General Journal Entry. Then for the date, it's January 3, 2021. Okay, debit, prepaid rent, 30,000, and credit cash, 30,000. Save, then close. To check again, so we have here, go to Reports and Forms, click General Ledger, choose General Ledger Trial Balance. So as you can see, from 150,000, your cash is now 120,000 because you paid for rent, which was 30,000. So prepaid rent was added to our General Ledger Trial Balance. Then both sides still equals to 380,000. Thank you.
Alright, so good morning. I am Laika and I will going to discuss the month of January 3 and also on January 5. So first we will going to proceed to on January 3, which is we have here. On January 3, it said that purchase supplies. Okay, it said that purchase supplies from TDK office supplies and decor on credit, which be 25,000. So we have here the debit, yes, which is the office supplies amounted to 25,000, and also we have the credit, which be the accounts payable amounted to 25,000. So after this, we're going to input this information to the Sage in order for us to get the sample or the correct problem. So here what we can see, we can input this information. Okay, just kindly type the title or just put the 20001, and also below that just kindly put the office, which is the TTK office. So after that, we will going to save this information and put the supplies here on this part. Okay, and after that we will going to find the information here, right? And after that we will going to save this one. So after this, we need to close this information and we will go to other part. Okay, we will need to search the date, which be on January 3. All right, perfect. So after that, we need some information here that we currently have on our problem. So here we're gonna need to put the information on this part. Okay, and after this, we will going to check the general ledger. Okay, and this is the format or the information that we have in our general ledger. And after that, we need to close this, and we already have our Sage 50 accounting. So after that, since we already finished the on the month of January 3, we will proceed on January 5. So, completed accounting work for Mr. Henderson for cash amounted to 22,000. So, we have here the debit 22,000, which is cash, and also the credit would be the accounts are the professional fees amounted to 22,000 also. So we're going to input this again information using the Sage. Okay, so we will going to proceed here. Okay, after that, same process on January 3. We need to input all the information that we have on January 5 on this Sage. So we will going to put the customer ID, and after that we will need to put Mr. Henderson. Okay, and the reference number, and we need to choose January 5. All right, perfect. And after that, all right, the amount which be 22,000 cash debit, and we will going to save this information in order for us to have this information in our general ledger. So we need to put again the name of Mr. Henderson, and we will going to save this info and put just kindly close it. So after that, so we already see here. Alright, so we will going to go again on our general ledger in order for us to check if we already input the information. So here, alright, the 22,000 is already here, so we're gonna need to close this. So that is the process of Sage in this problem, or in this month of January 3 and 5.
Morning classmate, good morning attorney. I am Jala Biloguda. I am here to discuss the transaction in January 10, 2021. Made a partial payment for purchase on credit made last January for 15,000. So debit the accounts payable 15,000, credit the cash of 15,000. So in order to input in the SAGI, click the list, click the vendors and purchases. So click the payments, right click, add a new payment. Vendor's ID is 2001. Check reference number of 211222234. So the date is January 10, 2021. Click $15,000. For the cash and account is 10. The office supplies, payment method is cash. So as you can see, in February 2, 2021, the amount due is 25,000. The amount paid is 15,000. So save, close. Your data is loading. Payment list, close again. Report forms, general ledger and trial balance. So as you can see, a cash is 127, office supplies is 25,000, prepaid rent is 30,000, office equipment is 230, as a total of 412,000. So next is transaction is in January 17, 2021. Completed accounting work for Mr. Anderson, an account in 30,000 pesos. So, debit the account receivable of 30,000, credit the professional fees of 30,000. So, in order to input in the SAGI, again, go to list, click the customer and sales, click the sales invoice, click add a new invoice, customer ID, bill to, click customer ID is 01002. Okay, next name is Mr. Anderson. Save, close. So next is invoice date, which is January 17, 2021. Due date is February 16, 2021. Invoice number is 2. Click the amount. Amount is 30,000. So save, yes. Click yes. Close. So as you can see, sales invoice list is 30,000. Close again. Um, Close. So again, reports and forms. Click the general ledger. Click the general ledger and trial balance. So cash is 127,000. Office supplies is 25,000. Accounts receivable of 30,000.
Good morning, everyone. I am Janica Chloe Pinipomasano and I will be discussing with you the following transactions. So, in January 21, 2021, Pashali Accounting Firm completed accounting work for Chichay on account for 10,000 pesos. In this case, one asset, specifically the accounts receivable, will reflect the increase, representing money owed by the customer to the business. So we will debit accounts receivable for 10,000 and credit 10,000 to the professional fees account for the service provided. Note that the 10,000 worth of services rendered is considered income even if the amount has not yet been collected. Since that we are following the accrual basis of accounting, we record income when earned and expenses when incurred. After manually recording the entry, we will proceed to Sage. Same process will be applied to the next transactions. Click Lists, choose Customers and Sales, and then proceed on clicking the sales invoices. After that, right-click and we will add a new invoice. Chichai is a new client, thus we will click on Add New Customer and fill in the necessary infos needed. After that, we will click Save and close the window. Now we can continue on recording the invoice smoothly. Type the customer ID and it will automatically generate the customer. Don't forget to record the invoice date, which is on January 21st, 2021, and the invoice number is 3. After that, proceed on recording the amount of 10,000 pesos owed by Chichay to the business. Click Save and notice that it says that the customer's balance will go over the credit limit by 7,500. So, credit limit is the most money that a bank or a business will allow a person to borrow on its line of credit. Some banks may charge a fee if you go over your credit limit. So if you can see on the lower left, the customer has a zero balance and has a credit limit of 2,500 only. And of course, Chichai surpassed the credit limit amount. Normally, customers will face fines or penalties in addition to their regular payment. Just click yes and close the window and it will now reflect an unpaid status on Chichai's account. To check the transaction recorded, we will go to Reports and Forms. Click the General Ledger, choose the trial balance, and as you can see, our accounts receivable increased from 30,000 to 40,000. And same goes to our professional fees. So next, we are still in January 21, 2021 transaction. Pacioli accounting firm received 50,000 from PLV partnership for accounting work to be rendered for the next 2 months, starting April 2021. So we will debit cash of 50,000 for the payment received in advance and credit unearned professional fees of 50,000 since that Pacioli accounting firm is yet to perform or provide service to PLV. So after that, we will proceed to Sage. Click on Lists again and click General Journal Entries. And then after that, right click and add New General Journal Entry. Input the date, which is January 21, 2021. Proceed on the General Ledger account column. Click Cash and then record the debit amount of 50,000 pesos. And same process applies to unearned professional fees, but we will encode the amount on the credit side of 50,000 pesos. Then click Save and Close. To check the transaction recorded, go to Reports and Forms, click the General Ledger, and choose the trial balance. As you can see, our cash increased by 50,000. And now we have an unearned professional fees account which also has a balance of 50,000 pesos.
Hi, my name is Angel Demetilio and I am going to present the transactions for January 23 and 24, 2021. So, on January 23, the firm collected from Mr. Anderson's account, which is from January 17 transaction, an amount of 15,000 pesos as partial payment for the accounting service rendered. The journal entry for this transaction would be a debit to cash of 15,000 pesos and credit to accounts receivable of 15,000 pesos. To input this transaction, first, let's go to Lists, then select Customers and Sales, and then click Receipts. So we'll add a new receipt and select the customer ID of Mr. Anderson. We'll then enter the check reference and receipt number, and then select the date when the transaction was made, which is January 23, 2021. We will then input the amount of 15,000 pesos and the payment method, which is cash. Then click Save and the software will process the data, and now we'll check the general ledger trial balance and as you'll see, the effect of the transaction and the updated trial balance. So next, on January 24, Luca Paciuli withdraw an amount of 20,000 pesos for personal expenses. The journal entry would include a debit to Paciuli drawings amounting to 20,000 pesos and a credit to cash amounting to 20,000 pesos. We'll input this transaction again to the software by first going to Lists, then select the General Journal Entries, and then we will add a new journal entry. Enter the date, which is January 24, 2021, and input the corresponding journal entry. Select the withdrawal account and enter the amount of 20,000 pesos to the debit section. And then cash, and enter the amount of 20,000 pesos to credit section. Save the data And we'll check again the trial balance of the general ledger and verify the effect of the transaction. Now you will see the updated trial balance of the general ledger and the effect of the transaction.
Good morning, attorney. Good morning, classmates. I am Trisha Renee L. Valencia, and I will discuss to you the last two transactions. So for January 27, completed accounting work for Miss Reyes, 18,000 for cash. So the manual computation or journal entry is debit cash, 18,000, and credit professional fees, 18,000. Now let's try it on the AIS application. So it's just the same process on the previous transactions. Add a new receipt and then fill in or fill up the customer ID. Next would be the name of the customer, which is Miss Reyes. And then the check reference number followed by the receipt number below, and then change the date to January 27. Then enter the receipt amount, which is 18,000 pesos. Then click save. Then set up. And then just put the name of the customer, which is Miss Reyes, and then we just save it and then close. Then we go back to the receipt list and then proceed to the reports and forms, and then general ledger trial balance. There you can see the additional cash of 18,000 on the general ledger trial balance. So that is it for the January 27 transaction. And the last transaction, which is January 31, collected the amount due from Mrs. Anderson and Chichay, 15,000 and 10,000 pesos respectively. Manual journal entries, cash, 25,000, debit, and then credit accounts receivable, 25,000. Now let's go to the AIS application and try it there. So the same process as to the previous transaction, receipts, and then we add a new receipt and then just fill it up or fill in the customer ID and then the check reference number, receipt number, and then change the date to January 31. And this receipt is for customer Mr. Anderson. So the receipt amount would only just amount to 15,000 pesos. Then click save. Close and then go back to the general ledger trial balance for you to see the difference or the amount on the accounts receivable that was reduced. There, you can see the accounts receivable is only 10,000 pesos left. And for the last customer, let's go back to the sample problem. So the amount is 10,000 for Chichay. Receipts, and then add a new receipt. Then just fill in again the customer ID. And then the check reference number, the receipt number, and then change the date to January 31. And for the receipt amount, amounting to 10,000 pesos. Click Save. And then we go back to the General Ledger Trial Balance. General Ledger and the General Ledger Trial Balance. There, the accounts receivable have been removed because it was, or the accounts or the money has been already collected. So for us to see if it has been, or for us to see if the customers has fully paid their accounts, let us go to the sales invoice list, and there you can see the customer's ID, which has the status paid in full. That's it, miss, for the last two transactions. Thank you.
Once again, good morning attorney and good morning everyone. I'm Jeremia Galiago and I will show to you on how to preview some important financial statements using Sage. So as we all know, financial statements is to provide information about the results of operations, financial position, and cash flows of an organizations. These are prepared and presented to the owners of the business and other stakeholders, and primarily it is for decision making. So the financial statements includes the balance sheet, income statement, and cash flows. So before we proceed to our balance sheet, first let's go back to our trial balance so that we can review some of the amounts. Click the reports and forms, then click the general ledger. After that, select the general ledger trial balance. The general ledger trial balance of Pacioli accounting firm. So we know that all business transactions are first recorded in the books of original entries and thereafter posted to relevant ledger accounts. So trial balance is a statement prepared as a first step before preparing financial statement of an enterprise, which record all debit balances in the debit columns and all credit balances in the credit column. So here we have an equal balance of or in the debit and credit side with the amount of 520,000. So since double entry accounting requires debit and credit balances, the trial balance debits must always equal to the credit balance. So this is a good double check when you are preparing a trial balance. So if your debits don't equal your credits, you probably don't have all of the accounts listed, or there is an error in one of the balances. So we need to be careful while we input the accounts and also the amounts. So next, let's take a look at the balance sheet of Pacioli accounting firm. So to preview the balance sheet, first select financial statement from the report and forms. Then find the balance sheet. So the purpose of the balance sheet is to inform the reader about the current status of the business as of the date listed on the balance sheet. So based on our illustrative problem, our balance sheet is for the month of January 2021. This information is used to estimate the liquidity, funding, and debt position of an entity. So here, the total asset and the total liability and equity have an equal amount of 500,000. Next, let's proceed to the income statement. So same process, select financial statements from the report and forms menu, then find the income statement. Uncheck the zero amounts and click OK. So income statement is a record that measures and shows all the expenses and revenues a company incurred during a specific period of time. So based on our illustrative problem, our income statement is for the month of January 2021. So the income statement helps determine a company's financial health and the financial progress it made during a particular period. So the only account in our income statement is the professional fees. Pacioli accounting firm has a net income of 80,000 pesos. Last is the cash flow. Again, same process. Select the financial statements from the report and forms menu, then find the cash flow and click. So statement of cash flow is to show the nature of cash receipts and cash disbursements. So by a variety of categories, this information is of considerable use since cash flows do not always match the sales and expenses shown in the income statement. So here is the statement of cash flow of Pacioli accounting firm. So we can identify the amount of net cash for operation, which is 85,000. Next, for investing, we have negative 230,000, and for financing, the amount is 360,000. Here we have the amount of the increase in cash, 215,000. So to double check if the cash flow is correct, let's go back to the balance sheet to check if we have the same amount of cash. So as we can see here, our cash account is also 215,000. So those are the steps on how to view the financial statements using Sage. By using this kind of programs, it is easier for us to record, store, analyze, and report financial information, especially to those who record hundreds of transactions every month. So we don't need to manually write down all the transactions in the paper or adding up long columns. All we need to do is to own a device like a laptop and install programs like Sage.